Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the full moon in Capricorn taking place on July 21st at 6:16 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This will be the lunar update for the Twin Flame Collective, and I am excited to share this one with you. It's going to be a pretty significant full moon. Link is below this video if you know you need to book a reading. There are some spaces available at the tail end of July with a 20% savings if you happen to book during the close of the week that this particular full moon is listed or published. So this will serve as a part two to the Lightworker Energy Update, which is part one. You will find the Lightworker Energy Update published on the channel right alongside this one if you're new. In that update, I also provide something at the tail end of the video called First Look, which will give us some insight into where the energies head as we head into the new moon in Leo on August 4th. So you have a full picture. Let's get into a summary overview of this full moon. For full detail, have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update. It will help you understand why I'm interpreting the planets divine masculine and divine feminine the way I am, given the overarching energy of this time period. So, this full moon, because we have the full moon conjunct Pluto, we have got aspects to uh, sextile to Neptune. We've got a square to Uranus, conjunct Mars. We also have a square to the creation goddess. This particular full moon is really speaking quite loudly, especially because we have this Juno trine to the full moon, is speaking quite loudly to closure and completions in the relationship sector of some format. It's also speaking loudly to dramatic change, long overdue change, and change that has our third dimensional reality catching up with what's already been unfolding in the realm of the spirit. Okay. And so there's a lot of closing out energy happening here. It will continue. I'm going to be very straightforward with you, kind of into the beginning of next year. Pluto doesn't really settle into Aquarius until we get into the new year. Neptune doesn't settle into Aries until the new year. Uranus doesn't settle into Gemini until the new year. And these are the heavy hitters of the zodiac, right? Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, they do not change a life. But when Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus move, they will rock your world. One of them in motion into a new sign at a time is a really big deal. And we all felt it when Pluto jumped into Aquarius last year. However, all three of them settling into a new sign at the same time, Saturn will also jump into Aries as well. It's going to be headlines, major changes to the structures of all of our lives. So, where things need to shift now, trust that the shifting that's unfolding in connection now is meant to set you up for and position you for the opportunity to be in the right kind of connection for you as we get into the other side of 2025. We cross over into the new year, but the setup for it is in the now time. Okay. Um, okay. So that's kind of some of what that is. Uranus and Mars is impulsive change. Neptune is allowing us to see the spiritual reasoning for it. Pluto is having us have the experience of deep, deep emotions about it, an interior change around it. That's the overview. Have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update for the deep dive. Let's take a look at the planets I read as divine counterparts. We'll start with Juno. She is here, and she is finally complete with her retrograde through Virgo. She has closed out the shadow window by arriving here, 23rd degree of Virgo. Hooray! It is so great to see. Because in Virgo, she has been discerning. She has been paying attention to the details. She has been dedicated. She's been looking at the decisions she needs to make. She's also been dealing with her service, both in the world and in love. And so, this particular movement that has been so deeply focused on dotting I's and crossing T's and putting periods at the ends of sentences is really giving us an opportunity to see, where do we stand in love now? Where have we stood? And where are we going next? We have some clarity about that, specifically because Virgo's an earth sign in the third dimension. At this full moon, we see the divine feminine counterpart speaking to this full moon directly via a trine to Capricorn, where Pluto and the full moon are. We see a trine to Uranus, who's in conjunction with Mars there. Mars at the beginning of Gemini, Uranus at the tail end of Taurus. We also see an opposition to Neptune. She's locking into place there. And Neptune is a dissolver. It also shows us vision. And we also see an opposition to Saturn here. So, as I looked at this and really sat with this energy, there were some, I guess you could call it channeled, but it's like a summary message about the way all of this works together for some of you. Um, so, I want to give you that, and then we'll kind of look a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of the energy. But what was shown to me, because of the way Neptune dissolves, Saturn is focused on spiritual structure. And then we've got this Mars Uranus combo, which is impulsive action and movement, and then deep feeling here with this particular new moon in the structure of our lives. Is that there are some people who may have previously identified as twin flames up until this point that will be leaving the path here. What was in you to keep the connection together, you're going to recognize it's just no longer there. This is very different than being turned off or hurt or betrayed and wanting space to process your feelings, or feeling rejected and abandoned, but you're still in love. This is not that. This is more like an energy of no longer being in love and almost being released from the connection itself, rather than working to release the connection, almost like getting pushed off of it or shoved out of it. More like a very natural sensation that what was, it's run its course. It's complete. There is a period on this sentence. Now, if this is you, you'll know. And this full moon is part of a series of full moons and new moons while the South Node is moving through Libra. So that's here, South Node, Libra, that is supporting divine release and spiritual closure in the sign of partnership. For those of you in this place, you will not have to make a decision. There will not be any thoughts or head in this at all. The heart will have already done the work. So at this point, it's unlikely you'll have any grief that may have already been done. But instead, this full moon speaks to a recognition in your third dimension. Yeah, chapter's closed. Your 3D may be catching up. And at this full moon, you may see some greater circumstantial alignment in the outer world with the truth that you're already living in your inner world. So if this is you, I want to make sure that you know that you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't fail your mission. In fact, there are some beautiful transits for new love coming in the fall and in 2025 and 2026. So know that when you're ready, love is going to be ready for you. Okay. And I was shown that throughout this period with the South Node moving through Libra, what I just shared with all of us collectively is going to be something that will continue to happen. Just a reconfiguring of certain connections where, for whatever reason, it didn't come together in the third dimension with one person, a movement that's going to allow people to have the quality and caliber of that deep, divine, unconditional love with someone who can meet you there. This movement of the South Node through Libra is going to be a clean out where there have been two people plugged into the concept or the idea of twin flame, like enamored with it. There's going to be a release of it, and it's going to really purify the energetic grids, allowing the pure love, the pure energy of coming together, of connection, to really be the guiding force as opposed to, labels and what we want to do in our humanity to make it move this way and that way. Okay. So just know that that's unfolding here, but that message in particular will also apply for people who continue to experience this kind of falling off or rolling out or turning down of a connection with a very specific person, so that you can actually have the unfoldment move in a new direction with a different person. Okay. So for others, there's going to be a major ownership. And I would say this is probably the majority of people. Major ownership of personal power and connection, the power to direct it, to make it what you want it to be, to mold and shape the connection through your dedication and discernment and forward thinking about what's possible. For some, this will be a lot of revelation about exactly how much influence your thoughts have had over your connection. And it'll serve to help you direct your thoughts constructively rather than destructively if you're struggling with the current interactions in your dynamic. The manifestations you'll see render in the second half of the year forward will be a truer reflection of any internal conflict you've had about your person or your connection. You're going to really be able to see where your discrepancies internally, your double-mindedness internally, is going to show itself externally in the way the person you're dealing with is really showing up. Okay. Um, it'll allow you to get some clarity, is what I'm trying to say here, about the influence of thoughts and feelings on the quality of the connection and the quality of another person's responses to you. And that's really, very evidenced through the way we're going to see our lovely friend Juno here speaking with Pluto. Pluto's about endings and closures, but in the sign of collective consciousness and quantum leaps forward. And then the resurrection there in Aquarius, we're going to see a lot of like mirroring start to amplify through the Aquarian lens as Aquarius speaks to the divine feminine energetic fields. In addition to everything just mentioned, for those of you who identify in some format of union, you'll see this full moon will mark a period of reconstruction in the direction or goals of the relationship. The heart of your desires is going to really show itself with the Mars Uranus combination, speaking to the divine feminine energy fields through each of your individual divine feminine energy fields. You may see this internal impetus and push. I got to make something happen in the third dimension that's linked with my desires and what's aligned and true for me. You'll see this period, whether the two of you are having conversations about new dreams, new goals, new desires, or new boundaries and new needs. The impetus to start talking about that and fleshing that out is going to be very loud. You might also notice in both people's lives that there's a change in the exterior world. So, work, family, something exterior to the connection that seems to demand some full attention. Again, this closure and change may have been a long time coming, and it's just the 3D catching up with its already unfolding in the etheric realms. Okay. So, try not to panic if one or both of you gets released from a job. Chances are this is a rapid manifestation in response to a dream you've carved out for yourselves that cannot accommodate having that job anymore. Okay. So understand that these realms, they're always responsive to us and what we're putting out there. Now, for those of you who identify in some format of separation, again, as mentioned in the channeled messages that I put out on the channel and the last lunar update, there may be some sense of quiet and open space as both counterparts seem to have a lot going on in the third dimensional lives that's demanding their full attention. The hard focus on the structures of life and their transitions are going to continue to dominate energies and efforts for a while. And it's all preparation and helping both counterparts land in the union energy that will allow an unfoldment of mission, deepen connections with soul group, and living as a more direct channel for divine love and for God. So, inside of this, I also want to make sure that I reiterate that, you know, in a union window, which we're just coming off of, a lot of people experience the union energy, that spiritual union, that pull toward the connection, only to run into all of their innate challenges when it comes to becoming living love. Childhood wounds, bad relationships from the past, financial entanglements with exes, baby daddies and baby mamas, where you love this other person so much, but the baby daddy and baby mama you don't treat well, where you have been living in conflict with the love that you're feeling. The union window is going to show that as a barrier to allowing things to progress. What happens is we get that union window energy that shows itself for those 2 years where Juno and Jupiter are rolling in close proximity. And then that window closes. And then we have the period between now and the next window to start to clean all of that stuff up. And it's in the cleanup process that we start to see the magic of union and things starting to come together. So it's not that you don't come together or won't. If you didn't come together in the union window, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. I want to make sure that I say that. I've said it a bunch of times, but I'm going to keep saying it until no one else is asking me, did I miss my chance? Of course not. What you got was a glimpse at what inside of you is at odds with love so that you can restructure your life to be in alignment with love, and in calibrating your life to the alignment with the love you're feeling, you get access. You walk through the doorway to union, and that can happen anytime. Okay. So if the channel messages left you wondering, how do I access union in my specific connection? What is my focus between now and the next union window? How can I speed this up? What's the work that I can do to be most effective or most supportive? All of this is revealed through your natal chart. You'll be able to see it very, very clearly. And we can do that in a personal reading. If this is the only thing you want to talk about, a half-hour reading is all you need. And I have a couple of half-hour readings coming up. I think it's maybe the third week of July, so just 10 days away from when this is being recorded. So if you want to talk about this, you can book at the link below this video, kmoonastro.com. Let's look at the divine masculine energy, Jupiter here. At that 12th degree of Gemini, we have a sextile to Venus, who is conjunct Vesta there inside of Leo. We also have a trine to Chariklo in Aquarius. We also have a square to Saturn in Pisces here, who is also conjunct Nessus. All right, so really interesting energy. This reads as a very grounded, new personal beginning here, continuing a journey into greater self expression, greater self sovereignty, greater spiritual truth being what the life stream is built on. This full moon for divine masculine energies opens exploration, curiosity, thinking through different ideas, considering different pathways and plans, getting feedback, and having necessary conversations about the plans ahead, the initial steps that need to be taken, and the possibilities available with each option. This is one of the divine gifts of Gemini energy. It's open-minded enough to really see and explore and recognize the value in all pathways. Okay. And so this seems to be a season with an opportunity for long-term thinking, strategic insights and planning. And if the impulse to do something new and the compulsion to do something new has always been there, but there's been some holding on to the old, there does seem to be a way in which during this full moon in Capricorn, we get to feel or experience a balance where we can see, okay, end is in sight for the old. Here's the date on the calendar or the processes that need to be facilitated. Once those are done, then I know I can truly close out the old. And here's the new. Here's what I'm going to step into. Here's what I'm thinking about. Here's the direction I want to take things. Saturn wants to stick with the tried and the true. And that's up here with Nessus. And that Nessus energy is like really got the old kind of in some stick and stay, unfortunately. The old can feel very demanding, I guess you could say, at the moment. Um, while meanwhile, the Jupiter energy wants to explore some new opportunities. In the squaring position to one another, there's a feeling of wanting to rush ahead while being hampered by something that's not yet complete or come into its fullest expression. Now, this could be being pulled between work or project related opportunities, one existing and one that calls to you, or otherwise being pulled between just two circumstances, more generally speaking. Now, for some, this could be love or romance related, as the sextile to Venus here does speak about love or attraction or romance. But the signs that they're all in, Venus and the sign of self creative authority and self sovereignty, Gemini, who's all about communication, short travels, sibling cousins and neighbors, and Saturn, who is in very spiritual Pisces and visionary Pisces. This seems to be significantly more about one's calling, one's purpose, and one's direction in life in our divine masculine energy fields than anything else. The question of this full moon is, who am I and what do I want? Give me vision for the future, is the prayer here. So, as this deeper exploration around purpose prevails all the way into next month with the Mercury retrograde in Leo, we'll see with greater clarity some discernment between what's holding us back because we're still tied to it, either contractually or maybe even emotionally, versus what we're using as an excuse so that we don't have to step into something new. For some of you, these revelations will become really apparent and very loud as we close out this month that, yo, it's time. It's been time. It's past time. It's time to go. And for other people, it's really going to take, multiple conversations, multiple strategic kind of structural changes. Lawyers may need to get involved. You may need to deal with some legal stuff. Allow yourself to get into the weeds with it. If there's ever a time to start looking at what's this going to take to release the old and step into the new, now is it. Okay. So if you're feeling torn at all, this is also a great time when it'll be good to consider, am I tied to the old thing because there's something I feel I need to do with it in order to let it go so I can be complete? Or am I tied to the old thing because I'm really uncomfortable with doubling down in my new? So much of the work unfolding in the divine masculine energy fields at this time is so self-focused in a beautiful way. After a long year of some death energies through 2020, when we saw Jupiter conjunct Pluto for much of that year, and a very pushy transformational period 2021, Jupiter in Aquarius, 2022, closers in Pisces, and 2023, rebirth in Aries. This period reads like an emergence and a chance to catch one's breath and pull off the highway, look at the map, figure out what's ahead. It's an emergence of sorts, and it's really beautiful. Now, for those who identify their connection in some format of union, there will be a lot of conversations about the future unfolding this month and next month, as there's a burgeoning calling within each counterpart to clarify for themselves, what is my life stream? What's my soul calling at this point? Above and beyond just being in this connection, what am I guided to offer life? And this will come through your divine masculine energy fields. You may find that there are different speeds at which there is movement in the third dimension for both of you. So, work may be moving at different speeds, income being generated may be moving at different speeds. So, it's going to be really important to have some of the more practical conversations about finances with regards to plans and travel and dates with this full moon so that both people can feel supported, both people can feel sovereign, as opposed to one person feeling dependent and the other feeling so responsible or locked into a way of life that they cannot change. Venus in Leo is inviting both counterparts into that sovereignty and give and take with the direction and options and connection in her conversation with Jupiter in Gemini. So I get to be sovereign. You get to be sovereign. What are our options for making that a real reality at this time, financially, time wise, in terms of the way we're investing our attention? Now, for those of you who identify in some format of separation, this energy evokes a lot of the necessary changes to facilitate union in the third dimension by making the necessary changes in the third dimension to set you up for major love down the road. Now, whether that's a change to your home, your vehicle, your career, your finances, or your way of dating, mating, and relating, this full moon, I know I keep saying new moon. I don't know. It feels like a new moon, even though it's a full moon. This full moon is helping you close out ways of living that are not conducive to union energy. And so, again, I talked a lot about this in the Lightworker Energy Update that there's a lot of this movement of closure and completion with things that have they've been closed. It's already been outgrown. Your third dimension is just going to catch up with it in this full moon energy. So definitely have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update. You'll also get that preview of the new moon in Leo on August 4th and a little bit of overview of the Mercury retrograde. And if you need some help understanding how to work this energy in your chart to your advantage so it doesn't feel like you're getting so pushed around, you can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. There's a link below this video, as well as a special savings code for 20% off if you book before, I believe it's Sunday the 14th. That's the close of this week. All right, take great care, and I'll see you at the next lunation. Bye for now.